Hi, I'm Ashley ASHLOCK from Group 10 and I'll be introducing our group members and project. We will be doing Japanese business culture. Jordan Duckett will be discussing business meetings. Scott Griffiths will be discussing Japanese companies in Japan. Wendy ALLRED will be discussing Japanese salarymen, and I'll be discussing business etiquette.
In the previous section on Japanese business culture, we briefly looked at one of the obvious aspects, politeness and manners. Now we are going to take a look at the core of Japanese business culture, the company. Webster's dictionary defines business culture as the shared attributes, goals, and practices that characterizes a company or corporation. And the company occupies a uniquely important place in both Japanese business culture and society. To a great extent, a Japanese man and his family are socially ranked by the reputation of the company he works for and the position and prospects he has there. In the US and Europe, the success of entrepreneurial companies has to an extent replaced social casting by employment. But in Japan, entrepreneurs are not accepted so readily and are often seen as eccentrics or even misfits. In 2004, Japan is as much as ever a nation of the company man. One important aspect of business in Japan is the use of business cards. One of the reasons why Japanese business professionals offer and accept business cards during meetings is the sense of pride it gives them in belonging to a company. Business cards are a necessary part of any first Japanese business meeting. One of the reasons for the central importance and influence of the Japanese company in Japan's social hierarchy is that Japanese business culture is still dominated by the concept of lifetime employment. A young man entering a large corporation immediately after graduating from college anticipates that he will retire from that same company. For the majority of employees at Japan's major corporations, that promise of lifetime employment still holds true. Even in smaller companies where labor liquidity is higher, good employees may stay with one employer for life. These long-term relationships create very strong bonds between a company and its employees, and of course between co-workers and managers. What many foreign companies often see as impenetrable barriers to Japanese business are more often strong bonds of personal trust. In a typical Japanese office, the words used to informally refer to senior and junior employees are often the same words used to describe the hierarchy of a human family. The corporate family often stretches out to include numerous subsidiaries and even third-party suppliers. It is not unusual for very strong ties to exist between large companies and their suppliers because the employees doing the buying and selling may have occupied the same positions within their respective companies for many years. Trying to win business by breaking these strong bonds will most likely end in failure. It would be better to work within those bonds. In Japan, a company man is the norm, and the company he works for shapes his and his family's social expectations. In most Japanese industries, it is unlikely to encounter a female decision maker. In the US and Europe, working couples are the norm, and many senior manager and executive positions are held by women. But in Japanese business culture, it is still usual for most women to marry young and then leave their careers to tend to the home or raise children. Most Japanese women do not return to work, even though they may have excellent skills and experience and might want to continue a career. Here are some examples of how the company that a Japanese man works for will affect his and his family's life. If a Japanese man wants to marry a girl from a nice family, she and her family want to be assured that he has a good, steady job with a reputable company. When a Japanese person applies to rent an apartment in a respectable suburb, the landlord's agent will want to know in detail which company the applicant works for, how long he or she has worked there, how long the company has existed, and what its revenues and paid-in capital are. If two people are competing for the same apartment, the person working for the better company will be preferred by the landlord. If a Japanese person changes companies after renting an apartment, he or she is obligated to inform the landlord, and the landlord may decide to evict the tenant if the new company seems unreliable. If a Japanese couple wants to buy their own apartment or house, the bank will expect that the man is working for a reputable company that has been in existence for some time and that has been in continuous employment he has been in continuous employment for at least 3 years. When Japanese parents are competing to get their child into a good school, even at kindergarten level, the quality of the father's employer and his length of employment are key factors. And as you can see, the company that a Japanese professional works for is far more important than just an income. it greatly affects all aspects of their lives.
So going into business meetings in Japan, in the previous section we talked about Japanese business culture and how their cultures differ from other cultures. We mentioned that many Japanese executives from foreign companies starting business in Japan consider their first encounter with the Japanese business culture at their first business meeting. So they would consider their first encounter with Japanese culture would be at the first time that they were able to go to a Japanese meeting and participate in the meeting and kind of see how they do things. This is just kind of an example of how meetings could differ one from the other. It says if your first meeting is with a Japanese distributor that is used to dealing with foreign companies or was a part of a trading division or one of Japan's multinational companies, then the chances are that employee that was told to talk with you is probably going to speak English fluently. It says extremely fluently, so probably just as if like an American would speak English. In that case, they say that the meeting would go pretty smoothly. The meeting would mostly be in English, and that most people would feel right at home. An American person doing business with a company like that would feel right at home because they would speak English to them during most of the meeting. Whereas if you were dealing with a smaller company, maybe, for example, it says like a domestic distributor or a smaller company, an internal division or a major corporation, then the entire meeting could possibly be in Japanese, other than hello, how are you, nice to meet you, my name is. Those things they may start with in English to get to know you, but then they may switch the meeting over into Japanese. So in that case, you would hope to have a pretty efficient translator with you to be able to help you in that situation. So we're first going to discuss how a Japanese business meeting would go in English. So it says, in the first of the above scenarios, you will pretty soon forget that you are in Japan, and neither Japanese culture nor etiquette will seem to be an obstacle in your success. Very often you will proceed quickly to a profitable business relationship, but equally as often you will not. The problem is that the conversation may be in English, but on the other side is, Japanese thinking. They're always usually very polite. However, they're not changing. Although they're speaking English, they still are thinking in Japanese and stuff like that. So Japanese people and businessmen are usually really conscious and they don't want to hurt your feelings. So a Japanese salesman has a really hard time rebuking you or saying no. They'll kind of just let you listen, and they'll listen to you and let you talk and pretend like they're very interested in what you're saying, even if they may not be. It says, it has been seen that distributors and prospective customers shower abundant praise on foreign executives or his or her plan even if they have no real interest in buying the product or doing business with the company. It says that even sometimes they'll take you on or they'll go and meet a second time with you, or a third meeting, or maybe even will go out to dinner with you and even pay for the meal, even though they really don't have interest in the product or don't really have interest in doing business with you. This is just kind of a way that the Japanese people are polite, and they kind of want you to have all your opportunities to be able to try and sell them on your company or on your product. So it could be a good thing. It's a very kind thing that they do, and it could also be seen as a very rude thing and insensitive thing to do. So that's important for us as international business majors. I'm an international business major, and other people in our class that may not be, but are going into something international business related, for us to understand how Japanese culture and how Japanese business meetings may occur. We'll go on to Japanese business meetings in Japanese. So it says, in the second of the above two scenarios, the difference in business culture and language will be quite large. So they'll be speaking Japanese in the business meeting, and likelihood you won't know Japanese. So in that case, like I said, you'll have to make sure you have a dependable translator there with you. Having a dependable translator can make the meeting go a lot more smoothly. If you don't have a translator that you really trust, or that you're confident is really getting the correct information from the Japanese businessmen, that could really hurt your chances of closing the deal with the company. So it says the same thing, that the people in whether they're speaking English or Japanese, they're going to be very polite and kind. But however, it says that when they're speaking in their own language, that they'll be a lot more direct and kind of to the point, almost seeming a little short with you. Whereas in English, they'll kind of let you talk and, you know, do your thing. So it says, such polite, reserved, and well-mannered meetings are typical of Japanese culture, but are often especially frustrating for U.S. company executives, because in the U.S. And sometimes in Europe, business is very informal, and businessmen meeting for the first time can often seem to be lifelong friends and seem like they've known each other for a long time. I've actually noticed this in my time doing business. I work at a bank, so I've noticed that people will sometimes come into the bank, and I may have only met them 1 or 2 times, but they treat me as if I have known them their entire lives and like we're best friends. And that's kind of just how business works in the United States. When you become comfortable with someone, or someone becomes comfortable with you and they've learned to trust you, then we're kind of more friendly and treat them as if they were family almost, or as if they are lifelong friends. Whereas in Japan, it's kind of different. They're a lot more formal about things. When to them, it's just a business meeting and you're a big business contact. They're not going to treat you like you're their lifelong friend. It says, do not be disheartened by this. Like I said, us international business majors, we need to understand when we go into Japan, if that's where we're going to do business meetings, we need to understand that they may treat us differently, and they may not treat us the exact same way an American company or an American person would treat us. That's the whole point of this class, cross-culture communications, is to learn how we can communicate and how we can understand other cultures, and how they can understand us, so that we're not to offend anybody and that no one's offended by us, and vice versa, we're not offended by them.
In the previous section on the central role of the company in Japanese business culture, it was noted that Japan is the land of the company man, or in Japan, the salaryman. Japan's salarymen are the people you will be doing business with, and understanding them is an essential part of understanding Japanese business culture and succeeding in the Japanese market. In this section, I will try to give you an insider view based on my experience dealing with hundreds of salarymen during the past 13 years doing business in Japan. The Japanese term salaryman generally includes all white-collar male employees from newly recruited freshmen to general managers, but does not include Japanese executives and directors. The salarymen and their families make up a sizable chunk of Japan's middle class, and the Japanese government and its policies is pretty much a reflection of their mood. In fact, an often quoted reason for the popularity of Japan's Prime Minister is that his unpretentious background and mannerisms allows him to relate well to the concerns of the salaryman. Understanding what motivates the typical Japanese salaryman is critical if you want to really succeed at doing business in Japan. It will help you in just about every decision you need to make, from deciding your office location to who to recruit as your company president. To understand the salaryman, how it influences Japanese business culture and doing business in Japan, we will study Tanaka-san, a 35-year-old rising star salaryman who is a departmental manager at a large Japanese corporation. Tanaka-san is a real living salaryman. In a sense, Tanaka-san's business life started when he was just 2 or 3 years old. He is an only child. His parents knew that if he was to become a respectable salaryman, working for a secure and respectable Japanese company, he would be recruited by that company only after graduating from a top university. Tanaka-san's father is a general manager at a Japanese multinational consumer electronics company and earns a good salary, But to put 2 children through a top university would have been beyond his father's salary, so Tanaka-san is an only child. Tanaka-san's mother investigated which kindergarten, which junior high school, and which middle school and which high school would best enhance his chances of entering a top university. His father approved the decisions, but it was Tanaka-san's mother that made them. By the time his father returned home to Tama City after a 1.5-hour commute from the east side of Tokyo, he was too tired to do anything but sleep. On Saturdays, he would be at his office, and so the only time Tanaka-san ever really spent time with his father was on Sundays, when his father would do his family service. So his mother reached the decision, and his father approved of them. From age 8, Tanaka-san attended crammed schools, and throughout his middle and high school years, he studied 12 hours a day, 6 or 7 days a week, to ensure his entry to that top university. After years of dedication, hard work, detailed study, and not breaking the rules, Tanaka-san graduated from Tokyo University on March 31st, 1990. In the previous October, he had completed strongly at the career fair organized by the university and had proudly accepted an offer from a major Japanese company. On April 1st, 1990, the very day after he graduated, Tanaka-san proudly joined the massive daily commuters in his new blue suit and white shirt. He was now a freshman salaryman. When Tanaka-san first entered the company, he had no idea, and neither had the company, what position he would eventually occupy. Together with the other new employees, he entered the 3-month induction course and upon completion was assigned to a junior position in one of the company's offices. He made a lot of friends during induction training, and even though those friends were dispatched to different offices, he will stay in contact with them throughout his working life. During the next 3 years, Tanaka-san was rotated through 4 or 5 different departments, 6 months in accounts, 6 months in patents and intellectual property, 6 months in production, 6 months in purchasing, etc., until eventually he was assigned to a longer-term opening in the IT division. He again made many new friends during those rotations, and they also will remain his friends throughout his working life, even though they too may be working in other offices. Even at just 25 years old, Tanaka-san has already begun to build a strong web of intra-company relationships, a network which will be important to him as he ascends the corporate ladder. All over Japan, in Japanese companies, large and small, you will meet salarymen like Tanaka-san. Their collective attitude is what defines today's Japanese business culture, and to succeed doing business in Japan, you need to understand their motivation, especially the way they perceive risk, so that you can apply your foreign business culture in a way that is sensitive to theirs. Most of Japan's salarymen exhibit a similar set of qualities that will affect the way you do business with them. They are loyal and dedicated to their company. If faced with a conflict between company duty and family duty, 99% will do their company duty first. They are consistent. They never criticize their company coworkers or managers. They are reliable. They are obsessed with detail. They evaluate all options. They are conservative. They make their decisions in committees. If necessary and for the good of the company, they will move mountains to help you. They conform. Respect those quantities and work with them in a way that enables them and you to win while not placing them in a position of unnecessary risk. And you will forge some of the strongest, most profitable, and most enduring relationships that you have anywhere you do business.
Hey everyone, my name's Ashley ASHLOCK and I am from Group 10 and we will be doing Japanese business culture. My section will be on Japanese business etiquette. Japanese business etiquette is very similar to American etiquette. Politeness, sensitivity, and good manners are the pillars of Japanese culture. The main difference between Americans and the Japanese is that the Japanese business etiquette is more formal, especially so at a first meeting when the exchanging of the infamous Japanese business card is almost ritualistic. There are certain aspects of Japanese business etiquette, for example attire, that are very traditional compared to business in the US. Fortunately, you will not be measured as strictly as local business people, and minor transgressions will be tolerated and may even help break the ice. The key issues to be aware of are almost all related to initial meetings, especially with senior executives of large companies. As time passes and your relationship with a customer strengthens, the formalities will lessen, although never to the same extent as in the US. Some of the major key aspects of Japanese business etiquette are Japanese business cards. In Japanese business etiquette, Japanese business cards are an absolute must-have. It's suggested to carry at least 100 for a one-week business trip and expect to give out 3 to 4 cards at a small meeting and as many as 10 to 12 at a larger meeting. Make sure they're double-sided and with the Japanese language being custom designed using the same elements as the English side. Never flick, throw, slide, lob, or otherwise push your business card across the table. Always present your business card with both hands, Japanese language side facing forward. And you want to present this card to the most senior member of the Japanese party first, bowing slightly as you do so, then on down the corporate ladder. Accept the Japanese business card with respect, using both hands saying thank you as you do so. Never write notes on a card, never. It's considered disrespectful. Carry a small notebook and take any notes you need to in that. Never fidget or play with a business card. Keep your business cards in a proper carrying case and treat them with the utmost respect. Remember to deliberately and carefully pick up all of the business cards you receive during meetings and introductions. Put them into your case at the end of the meeting. Forgetting somebody's business card is a slap in the face to a salaryman. It says you do not consider him relevant. On this point, remember that many people here will be with their company for life. The most junior employee you meet today with may control a $50 million budget in 10 years' time. Treat him with the exact same respect today that you would then. Business attire. Men in the Japanese business culture may be getting less formal than normal, but still require dark suits, navy or black, with a white shirt and subdued tie from the months of October to April, and a gray suit from May to September. Japanese summers are hot and humid, and most Japanese men wear half-sleeve shirts during the summer months. Do not wear a black suit, white shirt, and black tie. That represents funeral attire. Japanese men typically have well-groomed short hairstyles, but if you are a president of a software, internet, or design company, then a ponytail may be acceptable. Japanese companies do not allow male employees to wear beards nor to shave their heads. Women. Although not so much an aspect of Japanese business etiquette as of culture, many Japanese men do not relate easily to women with authority in business, and that can present problems for women executives from the US. To avoid being treated as an office lady, it's recommended that you wear shorter or tied back hair, trouser suits, or longer skirt suits with seasonal colors, the exact same as for men. Japanese women are very fashion conscious and many wear designer labels such as Gucci, Chanel, or Prada. Most Japanese companies do not allow female employees to wear jewelry, very short skirts, or high-heeled shoes. Business meetings. Always telephone 1 to 2 hours prior to a scheduled meeting to confirm that you are on your way. If you will be late arriving for a meeting, then call at least 1 hour in advance to allow the customer to reschedule. Always arrive 10 minutes early for a meeting. More if the meeting will be with senior executives. Plan an exact agenda for the meeting. If the Japanese side say the meeting will finish at 4 p.m., then it probably will not be extended because employees and facilities often run on very tight schedules. Wait to be seated in the meeting room because there is a custom regarding which party sits on which physical side of the table. It is good Japanese business etiquette to take lots of notes. It indicates interest, and Japanese are trained during induction to note down everything at meetings. If you forget a discount that you promised in an early meeting, even a year later, the Japanese side will show you the note they made at the time. If you need a non-disclosure agreement signed, send it well in advance of the meeting. Many companies here do business without written contracts and are wary of foreign company contracts because of horror stories they hear about litigation. If you suddenly slap a non-disclosure agreement on the table at a first meeting, the Japanese side will be embarrassed, probably refuse to sign it until they have legally reviewed it, and that can take weeks. Personal habits. Do not blow your nose in public, including meeting rooms. Do not grab your host's hand when first meeting and give it a hearty shake. Many Japanese seldom shake hands and can be so uncomfortable with it that doing so can cause them to never want to meet with you again. Never pat a Japanese man on the back or shoulder. Never make derogatory remarks about anyone, including your competitors and own employees. Always smile, be pleasant, be willing to learn, ask a lot of questions about your customer's company, and none about his private life. And remember to carry your Japanese business cards. Thank you so much for watching our presentation, and hopefully you learned something about a Japanese business culture. Thank you!